All right. Well, welcome to those of you who just got the notification. We are live here, and we will be joining you on screen in just a minute. We just wanted to give everyone a chance to grab some coffee or water or your beverage of choice and get settled as we are about to be joined by three powerhouses of site search and AI. So we'll be showing everyone's faces on screen in just a minute here. And I see a few folks have already joined us. If you are joining us now, do you want to add to the comments where you are logging in from? I know our speakers are joining us from, I believe we have at least two or three different time zones. So I would love to know, those of you who are joining us for this webinar, where are you logging in from? What time zone are we looking at? Oh, we got a Denmark. Okay, I have to do a quick Google to see what time it is in Denmark, but right now I am speaking from the Pacific time zone over in California. So I have a feeling we have we got a Vancouver, British Columbia. Yeah, we got quite a few different folks joining. Well, wonderful. Keep adding where you are logging in from. I got Indianapolis. My goodness. So many different areas being represented. All right, well, you're going to get going here. I'm going to show off everyone's face on screen. All right, here we go. We are real people, not just an image on the screen. And keep adding into the comments. I love seeing where people are logging in from because we have some wildly different areas already. So I'm Victoria. I work here at Bridgeline, and I am here to introduce these folks from HawkSearch, Visus, and Sitefinity. And then I'm just going to hand this over. John, why don't you go ahead and kick off the introductions? Tell us who you are, where you work, what you do.
Yeah, so thank you, Victoria. My name is John Meyer for this presentation, since we have a few Johns on the call here. So I'll be going by, today I'll be John Meyer. But I've been working with HawkSearch for, 9 years now at this point. I work in the solutions and engineering department, which means I'm involved with a lot of kind of education and demonstrations and technical scoping. So really worked with the nitty-gritty of the tool and have obviously a lot of experience with the tool. So looking forward to having the conversation with this fine team that we've gathered here for our call. Lino, I'll pass it over to you to do a little introduction as well.
Excellent. Thank you, John. Well, usually my name is Jonathan Tadros, but today I'll go by Lino so I can match the meeting today. I'm the CTO here at Visus. It's a pleasure to be with everybody. I'm very excited that I'll be talking about HawkSearch and AI and maybe picking the brain of these wonderful two friends over here. I've been in the industry for 33 years. I've been working with Sitefinity for 19 years so far, and I would like to definitely share with everybody the future of AI as well, especially with HawkSearch. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. I'll pass it over to Jonathan Reed.
Yeah, I'm the other John, or Jonathan. I will go by Jonathan in today's particular conversation. I'm a Sitefinity solutions engineer, so obviously get to work with great partners like Lino and John in retrospect to how we all work together in the landscape of Sitefinity. Lino, using Sitefinity for 19 years doesn't count when it was just .NET. All right. Anyway, I've been using Sitefinity not quite as long as Lino, sort of ashamed, but 11 years in various ways, shapes, and forms as developer and other opportunities here at Progress.
Excellent, excellent. So we're going to do a quick little overview of what we're talking about here for this conversation today before we really dive in kind of the roundtable discussion and some of the practical demonstrations. So really, I'll just quickly address what we mean by search smarter as part of kind of the title of this presentation here. We're looking at how you can revamp your digital approach, connecting customers to content efficiently, And what we're meaning by that is really kind of, that's one of the key things of search, is this idea of someone's coming to the site and executing that search. How are we going to get them to that content smarter? Using machine learning, using AI is one of the key ways that we can really help improve that functionality. We're going to talk about this from kind of all ends of the conversation, obviously from the Sitefinity end, from the HawkSearch end here as well, and of course from Linos's end as kind of that middle ground there, like that bridging the gap between these two different tools. And really, of course, obviously, a lot of the conversation today is going to be around that AI potential, discovering how AI can be your secret weapon with personalization. So one of the main things that AI can help drive here is that personalization, is understanding who is the visitor who's on that site, getting them to that content that much quicker by leveraging that. It's not just understanding some wisdom of the crowd kind of functionality. It is looking at that idea of personalization and helping us understand that we know it's John or Jonathan or Lino or Victoria who's browsing the site, and what are they going to be looking for based off of their previous interactions, and using AI to understand that personalization. And of course, all of this is important, and there's lots of big talk happening in this space right now. I think every day someone's talking about some new thing with AI, but it's all a lot of talk. So Lino has been gracious enough to put together a wonderful presentation for us that'll walk through some of the actual practical applications of this, where we can show you what some of the things look like from both ends of the discussion, and also show you some of the kind of the different levers that can be pulled. So really looking forward to the conversation today. And I think we can dive into that. Lino, I think you had volunteered as kind of that middleman there between both sides of the dueling John and Jonathans here, and you had some great conversation in store for us. So let's go ahead and dive into that.
That is awesome,
the
John.
flower between two thorns, right, Lino?
Sounds good. Yes, let's go ahead and jump in. I have pretty much 5 questions for both of you, just to get this before we jump into a demo. I think everybody on the call today would be interested in your answers. So I'm going to start with the first one. We'll start with John, and then we'll pass it on to Jonathan after that. Why, John, do you think the importance of customers to look at HawkSearch when developing a Sitefinity site? I mean, Sitefinity comes automatically with Lucene, for instance, and if you're in Azure, you can use Azure Search. What do you think the importance of HawkSearch inside of Sitefinity for people to take a look at?
Yeah, so obviously a lot of that's going to come down to the topic that we're discussing today, kind of what is that AI that can be brought to the table? What is the machine learning that can be layered into your search experience? Obviously, when we're talking about kind of the native search that comes out of Sitefinity, it is lacking those features and those functionalities. There's more that HawkSearch also offers just kind of outside of the topic of the day. We do also put a big emphasis on kind of how ease of use of the tooling, making sure that if you want to create a boost and bury rule, it's something that your content managers can spin up very easily. If you want to create a recommendation strategy, it's not something that's very difficult, as well as just kind of making sure that we're able to drive a federated experience, which is also a very common topic that we run into with our Sitefinity clients, that they might have content on Sitefinity, they might have a commerce section that's stored on maybe like BigCommerce or some other site. They might be using other data coming in from like a Power Reviews or something like that to be piped into. And on our end, on the HawkSearch end, we're able to aggregate kind of all that information and bring back in one singular search. So it can be a very powerful tool to be a part of that conversation with Sitefinity.
Excellent. Thank you, John. How about you, Jonathan? What do you think actually what customers should look for in HawkSearch when it comes to Sitefinity?
Yeah, I mean, definitely a great question. And obviously, as mentioned, Sitefinity does include search. So over the course of my years in content management in the web-based world, which is even longer, I've found that there are kind of 2 different navigators when it comes to web properties. There's the clickers, and then there's the searchers. There's those people who kind of go right up to the top right-hand corner, and they look for that search icon. So we focus in really on that group. And of course, with the precedence that's been set by, of course, Google and Bing and DuckDuckGo and all the other similar things in between, search is of the utmost importance, especially for business practice, right? Now, again, Sitefinity does obviously include some of those features, but it just scratches the surface, right? It gives you enough to be viable in the industry. I mean, we can do faceting and some other degrees like that, right? Again, with Azure and Elastic. But the HawkSearch platform really does take it to that extra level and follows the precedence that Sitefinity has set on it should just be easy. Right. And then you sprinkle in the fun things like, AI and all those other technologies. In fact, when I asked AI about 2 Jonathans, it says it doesn't make a right. Actually, that's not true. It actually said, it's a metaphorical or contextual sense. It's just two people sharing similar characteristics. So, and then that we do, obviously, in search being that characteristic in this particular case.
That is awesome. My next question for you guys is actually a big one. Everywhere we look around right now, the word AI is all over. I mean, you cannot hide from it. And of course, every industry, every vertical, horizontal, whatever, AI is being utilized, and everybody's trying to put it in every single project that they're working on nowadays. So I'll start with you, John. Where do you think the search world is using AI, and what's the future of search and AI together?
Yeah, so and on the HawkSearch end, it's kind of interesting because we've been dealing with AI for a number of years actually before it even kind of got this groundswell of recognition, because we recognized early on kind of the benefits that this could have from a search perspective, and it's really leveraging not just kind of the machine learning where it's like tracking kind of a if this then that logic flow, but leveraging the signals that an individual visitor can be providing the search tool to help improve that experience. And so typically you'd see things like, oh, it's going to be 100 people clicked on this item, and so we're going to make sure that that's the first thing that someone sees when they do a search. Well, on our end, we've been really leveraging AI to understand on that personalized level, understanding on a one-to-one level, what are you going to be most interested in out of the searches that you've done on this site, out of the navigation choices that you've made, out of the purchases that you've made, out of the articles that you've read, the PDFs that you've downloaded, and taking all of those signals and using AI to find a recommendation for you out of the results that are going to be returned. Obviously, that then can extend into other areas of the tool. And one of the things that we're really looking forward to kind of moving forward from a more generative AI perspective is looking into things like helping with automation behind the scenes of the tool, using things that help us generate synonyms and generate content for landing pages, and really kind of helping to streamline, to Jonathan Reed's point about, you want the tool to be easy to use. This is one of those things that we've been using AI to help improve the search results. Well, now we want to be looking at generative AI to help improve the back end of the experience for our customers.
Excellent. Thank you, John. Jonathan, what would you like to add to that regarding your view about the future world of search with AI?
Yeah, obviously, kind of as John sort of mentioned, there are two different aspects of it. There's the machine learning aspect, which can help obviously guide a user to a particular result or whatever. It could identify that, you're in a basement in Indiana, which I happen to be. Hey, fellow Hoosiers out there. So, there's that aspect of it. But really, I think where we're looking at sort of the next generation of things is that generative AI. Where again, it can help the back end experiences of generating the content that may be relevant or synonyms or whatever else in between that I probably haven't even thought of. Right. Obviously, HawkSearch is much well versed in this particular area than me, but that's really me. The next step is we did the machine learning thing, and it's pretty awesome. But there are the next steps of how does it make my job easier. Versus the scare tactic of could it replace my job, which you can't replace two Jonathans.
No.
I chat GPT'd that too.
Sounds good. John, I have a question for you. How does AI affect the productivity of HawkSearch itself? How can you share that with us?
Yeah, so it's actually as we've been kind of talking about, it's more about kind of streamlining the back end experience. It's really what we've been focused on for the last few years, and where we're looking at going forward is that what we have seen. I've been doing this for several years, not as long as you guys. This is one of the few calls where when I say 9 years in the industry, and I am the baby on the call here. But what we've really been seeing, in my time doing this, is that for a lot of our clients, they have big ideas of what they want to accomplish, but it's always a matter of time and availability and resources. And so being able to leverage the functionality of AI to help streamline that, to make it so that you're not having to be this would not then be another tool that you're needing kind of daily maintenance on. That this is something you can almost, it's cliche to say it, but set it and forget it. It can kind of learn from what your visitors are doing. It can use those signals to help improve it, and it then means that you're not having to spend resources on you're going to be looking at your top 200, maybe your top 50, let's say, search terms that are performing well for you on a more regular basis. But what about that 51st term? What about that 52nd term that you don't have the resources to spend time on? With the AI functionality here, you can be confident in the fact that those are still going to be improved experiences. We're still going to be looking at the signals from your visitors, looking at that personalization to help improve that. And then moving forward, that streamlining of, I need to create a bunch of synonyms. We work maybe in the electrical distribution industry, and there's 12 different ways that someone refers to this one widget. Maybe I only know 3 of them, but I can go in and I can ask the AI to say, hey, give me all the synonyms for this particular thing, and it can come back with a list, and I can be confident that that's going to be there. Instead of me having to research it, instead of me having to manually type that out, it's a matter of, here's the term I'm looking for. Let's go ahead and drop that in and bake that right into the tool.
That is excellent. Thank you, John. And the next question for me, number 4, we have 2 more before we do the demo. Can you share with us what is the future of AI in HawkSearch? I know this has been in the product for a long time. This is not a new thing for HawkSearch, but I know for a fact from talking to other members of the executive team, there is some really nifty stuff coming up in the next few months. So can you share with us a little bit of a peek into what's happening with AI in the future of HawkSearch?
Yeah, you're getting kind of a sneak peek here in terms of we really haven't even discussed much of this publicly before. We just had our quarterly release where we were starting to tease some of this, so we're going to talk a little bit more about this going forward. But we've been working, as you said, there's been a lot of AI in HawkSearch, but it's been more on kind of the front end of the user experience of what are the results that HawkSearch is going to return. How are we going to help streamline that functionality? What we're looking at going forward is really this generative AI. So there's AI, which is going to be learning from things and making suggestions without user input. Generative AI is more driven around the idea of prompts, of you are giving the AI something to think about, and you're looking for a response back from it. And so using that generative AI concept, we've been working over the last few months of taking these concepts and looking at where can we bring these into HawkSearch to help improve it. So I've mentioned a few times kind of the synonym one. That's obviously, that's going to be very soon deployed into the tool here, where someone can log into HawkSearch, go into the back end of the tool, go into the synonym section, and give a prompt for, I'm looking for, terms for this particular search term to find synonyms for it. We're also looking at helping create content for landing pages. So HawkSearch has a full landing page suite where we can create category pages, we can create promotional pages, and obviously you're going to be wanting to look at those being indexed through Google, through all the other search engines. So having generative AI help create the right SEO content for those pages, that can help improve the functionality there. We're also looking at kind of helping drive more of that NLP, more of that, kind of being able to pose more natural questions to the search engine. And that's being based more of kind of like this vector idea of understanding kind of the relationships of, where in kind of logic are these two things associated with. So if you're looking at, an apple and a banana, and I'm looking for fruit, being able to understand the classification of those are two things that are together. And if I do a search to say, show me fruit, finding those items and understanding the relationship there. So that's maybe a little bit further out, because that's obviously a bigger picture here, but even still, we're not looking at years down the road. We're looking at within the next few months of rolling that into HawkSearch and really being able to dramatically change the way that visitors can search on a site. Part of that is, of course, and I don't want to talk for too much longer here. I know I'm kind of rambling, but part of that is also going to be education. We are at this point where so much is changing so fast that educating the visitors who come to your site, to let them know you can search in this fashion. We saw this historically, where in the past people were so used to searching in very strict terms of, I just need to search on a part number, or I need to search on I need to put like the and modifier in a search term. And we've all learned that you don't need to do that anymore. And now through other search tools, we've been educated and being trained to be posing more natural questions. But I still think on kind of the commerce and content side, when I'm actually on a site, there isn't that expectation of I can pose a question that way. So we're really trying to get ahead of the ball there of making sure that when that transition happens, there's not a gap in functionality.
So I don't have to do pipe. I don't have to do pipe ampersand. Yeah. How do I find any? Oh man, what am I gonna do?
I got some inside demos from the team, and I have to say I was very excited about what's happening in the next few months with HawkSearch and AI. So congratulations for that, folks. I appreciate
We're excited.
The final question is for Jonathan Reed. Why is Sitefinity excited about this partnership with HawkSearch, and what do you think, which segment does it fill in for Sitefinity customers currently?
Can I just say what he said? I'm pointing at, he's up over here on my screen. I mean, we are obviously on a similar path with generative AI and other things with Sitefinity, so it fits hand in hand, right? I mean, it's the landscape of our digital world that we live in, right? Whether you're a marketer, you're an author, you're an editor, or a combination of all those things, using these things together is not an option anymore; it's a necessity. And again, if we kind of go back to those two profiles we talked about earlier, you got the clicker who's just going to click on stuff, and maybe even bird nest. If you're not familiar with that term, go Google it later. It's a lot of fun. The bird nesters, or again, the searchers, right? And again, with the precedence that's been said, and now the addition of things like AI to make my life as that author, editor, marketer, or even developer, obviously, easier. I'd be silly not to look into this opportunity to increase the capabilities, and not, we haven't even touched on this, track it, how those searches are doing. I just happen to know it does all this. And then, again, learn from those experiences and really make sure I'm getting my key performance indicators adjusted to that group of individuals, right? Because if I'm a searcher and I don't get what I want, I just leave. That's what I found with that particular profile of users. If you're the clicker, you might be a little bit more pretentious in the idea of, okay, I might go click on something else. They might ultimately end up on the search page. But again, I think you can miss a huge target group of audience by skimping on the idea of what search can really benefit the digital asset. Again, website, mobile app, or anything in between.
That is awesome. Thank you guys very much. And I hope everybody's enjoyed these answers regarding the future of HawkSearch with AI. And I would like to take the next maybe 8 minutes or so, whatever is left for us, to actually show you my experience for the last couple of weeks with Sitefinity and HawkSearch. And congratulations to the HawkSearch team for releasing the new 14.4 that will work with the latest version of Sitefinity as well a couple of weeks ago. So I've been having a lot of fun trying to play around with it. So this is the back end of HawkSearch, where think of it as your lab to actually be able to build whatever you want. It's very, very powerful, extreme amount of functionality that you can set. Right now, I have a couple of different sandboxes. One is called Lino, one is called Sandbox. They're all in development, they're not in production. So I just wanted to give you a couple of very quick things in like 8 minutes or so about what exactly is it all about, to be able to use AI or actually use an if statement. So I wanted to show you the difference between not using AI to make decisions and using AI to make decisions as well. I'm going to start actually with the preview. Right now, I've actually added a lot of data. I've actually re-indexed my searches. Hopefully, if you're interested to know how to do all that stuff, I'm going to be offering actually a 2-day class on HawkSearch with Sitefinity from scratch. 4 hours each, so 8 total hours of training on HawkSearch going forward. So I'm very excited about a new class that we'll be adding to Sitefinity and HawkSearch together. But for right now, if I click on preview, for instance, you will notice that in preview, we will see exactly the debugging version of what the customer will see in Sitefinity. We'll have the facets on the way on the left. This is a store, for instance, that sells a lot of different items with different categories, colors, brands, as you can see in here, and the pricing and so on. So the facets are extremely powerful. And then we will have everything in here that you can actually search for. You can use the edit box at the top to search for a specific item. Notice this is the debugging version. This is not the final version. That's why we see boost. So I can see, for instance, what is causing the score to go up. Why is it showing up the first one at the top? I can click on explain, for instance, to be able to see what caused it to get a boost by 5 points, 10 points, 25 points. Also, the fields that came back from the system using the index, I can see the description, the brand, everything that I need to make a decision on. Not only that, but you can actually get an advanced explanation how to score 6, for instance, on the query. I can say full text search, and you can get as advanced as you want to be able to use these numbers to create your own machine learning as well based on that. So it's extremely powerful, and it's all at your hand as well. If I go back to the workbench in here, folks, notice there is a lot of stuff that I can do. I'm going to start with the if statement to show you the piece that can happen without AI. If I go to merchandising, for instance, there is something here called campaign. That means in my search using my facets and the results, maybe I would like to show something at the top or the bottom of the page or something on the side in the sidebar only when it receives a specific condition. Maybe you're looking for gloves, for instance, or you're using for winter coats or something like that. How do I do that? Usually you want to start always with a content item. So you click on content item and you have 3 different options. Let's go ahead and create a new content item in here, for instance. And in that content item, I can use an image with whatever size the image is going to be. I can create a custom, and custom means I'm going to be able to create some HTML, some images, do tables, do whatever you want in here as a WYSIWYG editor. Or my development team can go create a completely separate widget, and that is the widget that will show up. Maybe the widget will go get some stuff from the blog post or the news or custom modules inside of Sitefinity itself. So that will require some development if you would like as well. But we'll keep it as simple as just going creating an image. So I created one already for time. I created Lino test content. So I'm going to edit this guy to see what it's all about. It's a 1200 by 1600, the width and height. And notice there is a nice little car in here. I can give it an alt tag for the accessibility compliances and so on. I can even give it a forward URL for our website for visusllc.com. But the important thing is, after I create this content, whether it's an image, custom, or widget, I will need to go ahead and create a campaign. So when I create a campaign, I created one in here automatically called Lino Gloves, for instance. And what that will do, you will be able to pick the content that you would like to show. But of course, the most important part is what will trigger it. So right now, you have a lot of different options. You can make it based on keywords, somebody searching for the word gloves. I can change it from is to contain, so that even if they put the word glove without an S, it will still show up. So I can say keyword contains, and I can come in here, we'll say gloves. There you go. All righty. And we will say go for it. And I'm going to say save. So once I do that, I'm saying right now I would like to show this Lino gloves, and you get to choose the zone. You probably noticed when I was entering the campaign, and the zones will be like, maybe you can create multiple zones, one above the search results, one below the search results, one below the facets on the left side in the sidebar, or above it. So you can create whatever zones that you would like as well. That means when I go back to the preview just to test this really quickly, I can come in here, notice the search results is there, but if I enter the word gloves, for instance, like that, and I push enter, the pictures will show up at the top because I told it to go to zone 1, and then it will have everything it has to do with gloves, as you can see in here. And then the boost and Barry actually will have a decision which one to show in the front and whatnot. If I go ahead and create some boost and Barry, which is a completely different things in the web, in the workbench, you will see different numbers, not all going to be zeros. Maybe this one will be 25 because I told it, if you're looking for a specific things, give it a boost, show it all the way in the beginning, and the one with the highest number will show up first, and so on. Very, very powerful to be able to do that. But that was an if statement, to be honest with you. That's not an AI piece. The AI piece starts whenever we start working with keyword search and recommendation. So if I go, for instance, to keyword search, there is the AI-based multiplier. Very, very powerful. These 4 quadrants in here, I can tell the system, first of all, learning search multiplier. It starts from relevancy, goes all the way to popularity. If you don't set it at all, it's at 0 or actually anything below 1. Whenever you search for something, it will be definitely based on relevancy coming back from the index that's coming in from the product itself. But sometimes you want to change that, and it has to be over the value of 1 for it to start becoming popularity than relevancy. Relevancy might be the dominant one, but you do not want to make it based on the relevancy. You want the AI based on the patterns in the data coming in from the index. I want to make it based on popularity. So you can actually move it to 1, 2, or even all the way to the top. That means I want popularity to be the most important piece based on the patterns and the thousands of interactions happening on the site. Boost for recommended items. Again, if you leave it at 0, for instance, in here, the boost will be recommended based on the search result itself, or I can move it to the right side all the way to 100, which is the recommended value. Same thing with the orders. Maybe when you're searching for gloves, maybe the relevancy of all the things about gloves, but I want to put all the way at the top the ones that are sold the most on my e-commerce system, for instance, not by relevancy only, but the one that sells most, because I want to actually get to a point where we can close the deal on the website as fast as possible. These gloves, for instance, are the ones that are most sold. Also, if you can actually make it based on added to the cart. A lot of people add things to the cart, but they don't finish the transaction. They come back later, or they completely let it go. So the important things, you get to decide what is the between relevancy and adding to cart or completing and confirming the sale, the recommendation, the popularity. AI can happen all over the place in here. The final thing I wanted to show you in our final minute, if I go to recommendation, this is the AI piece. So I can actually go to widgets, for instance. And in the widgets, I get to choose different areas. And don't let that confuse you. There is a homepage area, product page, shopping cart. This is just for organization reasons. You can actually create something on homepage and still use it anywhere you want in the system. That's not a problem. But when you create, for instance, a recommendation, it's all based on strategies for AI. So I created one earlier called Home Recommendations. Let's go ahead and click on the editor in here. We'll wait for it to come up here for a second, hopefully. There you go. I will go ahead and give it a name or a title that will show up. And I can still say I want the recommendation to show up at the top of the result, at the bottom of the results, below the sidebar of the facets, at the top. You get to choose the zone as well. You get to choose the code that you can copy and paste. It depends on the version number that you have of Hawk Search with Sitefinity. Sometimes it's a div like that. Sometimes it's a component called Hawk Search -recommendation. The documentation will show you which syntax you have to use in Sitefinity, for instance. And that's something I will be covering a lot, of course, in my training courses for Hawk Search and Sitefinity. The fun part is that you can actually start date and end date a specific recommendation. Maybe for Christmas, you want to do this and you would like to show something between like the 20th till the 24th of December only. You would like to push something all the way at the top. And after that, it will automatically take itself out. So that recommendation can happen on a specific item. The layout of it, maybe you want to show 4 things inside of that recommendation. Maybe make it horizontal or vertical based on the layout that you're looking for. You can actually change the template if you want to, put your own HTML if you'd like. If you'd like to make it a carousel that every second or 2 seconds, it will move from the right to the left or left to the right, set up the speed, set up the next buttons and all that. You can also take a look at how it's going to look like. So if I say preview, it will come up with a window to show you exactly how it will look like here for the title, the home recommendation, for instance. You can call it whatever you want. If I actually turn on the dots, and let's say, for instance, I'm going to make this 3 elements only with the time to scroll is 4. Let's preview it again. And now notice there it will move by itself. So I have 4 items and it's only 1 dot. But again, if you have 10 items, there'll be multiple dots. And this is something that you can put all the way at the top or the bottom, anywhere you want in your zones on the page as well. The most important part, of course, is the last part in here, which is the strategy. When will all that stuff show up? So if I open up the strategy in here, this is the part that I like the most, which is, let's say, for instance, I'd like to add a new strategy. I'll go back to the one I created earlier. Tons of different strategies that you can use. It all depends, of course, if you're in development or in your production. If you want to use one of these, except this one that says featured items, these will require transactions and people coming to your production site. So I can't use them on a development one right now. I only can use featured items. But look at all the things that you can count on as a strategy. Add it to a cart for me. Also added to a cart. Also bought, viewed, bestsellers. All of these things will require data in the database, of course, to be able to tell what happened as far as a journey before on the website itself. So for this one, I actually created my featured items in here. And in the featured items, the only thing you have to do is to put the view context. Actually, in this specific one, it doesn't really matter very much. It does matter the view context is if it's one of the other strategies. For this specific one, featured items is not really weighted very much on that. But notice that if I come back in here to my condition, I can say if the keyword is gloves, or I can actually choose a title or a color or a brand, and I can actually set up the is, contains, not, and all of these things are available for you. And you can actually or and all of these things again by saying if all of or if any, and add more and more condition to make the recommendation using the AI pattern and the data that you have collected on the website available for you. Very, very powerful. I know this was very, very fast. I even went over, but I just wanted to thank everybody for spending at least the last half an hour with us. Very, very powerful product, can do a lot and can actually make your e-commerce system. It doesn't have to be e-commerce. I know a lot of people are using Hawk Search with no e-commerce, but with a lot of data that needs to have facets to make it easy to search and find whatever they're looking for with recommendation and AI as well. I'll give it back to the 2 Jonathans to maybe actually give the final word regarding Hawk Search with Sitefinity. John?
Yeah, I'll add just a little bit. You hit on a great point there. Obviously, this demonstration that you're pulling up here has been through an e-commerce kind of database. Just that's the data that we have set up to play around with. But Hawk Search does work very well with a content-based approach. All of those strategies, even if they're referencing things like add to cart signals on the back end, we can wire those up to. Did they download that PDF? Did they read that that article? Did they fill out that form? Those are just kind of high level values that we have set up in the tool there. Initially, those can be wired up to whatever. So we obviously work very well in really kind of in any industry, B2B, B2C, enterprise, content. And so very, very excited. That was a wonderful demonstration there. Jonathan, anything you want to add before we wrap up here?
Yeah, I think it's, I know Lino spent some time obviously creating an item for the index, but it's probably also important to note, and John, you correct me if I'm wrong here, that obviously works directly with Sitefinity content itself. So obviously a lot of you are here for that particular matter. So it is plug and play with Sitefinity information. You don't necessarily have to go through the full line of creating something that was a specific topic at hand. So I think it's important to know that, yeah, if you go with the Hawk Search solution, which we obviously recommend, it works. Just plug and play, a little bit of configuration, of course, and you're off and running.
Yeah, no, 100%. You hit the nail on the head there. That is a very key thing to highlight, is that we do try and make that initial lift as simple as possible. It can talk directly back to the Sitefinity backend and pull in the content that we see back there. Like you said, there's a little bit of configuration, but honestly, that's more what we have found as being more of a benefit than anything else, because it means that it's not a black box that then you need to require custom development to make it get the things that you're looking for.
Exactly.
You have a little bit of just, hey, these are the important things, and we can be off to the races a lot quicker.
Yep.
Victoria, I think we're ready to wrap it up here.
Yep, I think so. I did want to mention a couple of things. Just first off, thank you guys so much. That was just jam-packed with good information. For those of you who weren't able to join us for the entire thing, or for whatever reason didn't get to hear this, we will be sending out a recap blog with the recording, so you can go back and get all the insights. And then also, if you want to scan this QR code, we set up a form specific to this webinar. If you would like more information from any of the three wonderful speakers today, you can go ahead and let us know in there. And yeah, I just wanted to give a final thanks to you guys. I know we went a tiny bit over, but I think it was worth it. There was a lot of really good meaty information in there. So with that, I will bid everyone adieu.
Thanks for having me, everybody. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye, guys.